and host Troy Hippolito. I'm AKA the not so boring LinkedIn guy, and I have my co-host here, Jeremy Blueball, and he's actually a client, a good friend, and very very smart in the areas of personalization. So thanks for joining, Jeremy.
Yeah, Troy, thanks for having me, and thanks for calling me smart. That's the first I've ever
Yeah.
heard that.
You never heard that? You look smart. He looks like a smart guy.
Um,
Well, I'll go through the agenda, but this is the Zero to Hero series for the Troy Show, and this is episode 3. So we'll go through a couple of things. So we're going to talk about, the sponsors here is myself and Jeremy, and we also have a third sponsor. It's from the Now Society. It's the Client Acquisition Mastermind, and we're really pushing that out because we have some low cost seats that have a lot of value in there. And the lessons that we're talking about today is pulled directly from, I think it's session 17 of it. And so a little bit, we'll talk a little bit about that client acquisition mastermind, but we'll have a special offer for that and a free giveaway. And so the same giveaway we had last time, it was a daily process guide. So it's really, really valuable if you're trying to convert, build relationships, create a routine, and things like that. So the other two things that we're going to talk about is, how to create an omni-channel. We mentioned that last time, but we'll probably get a little more in depth in different ways to create an omni-channel. And the other thing is how to train your virtual assistant and an SOP. So an SOP is a service operating procedure. It's just a training manual. And I have a sample of one here, and it may help you out a lot if you're trying to expand and you really can't do everything yourself. I mean, what do you say about that, Jeremy?
oh, absolutely not. Especially if you want to scale. I mean, you can do everything yourself. You're just gonna and might make a little bit more money in a year or two, but you're gonna be working 80, 90 hours a week and be miserable. I don't know anybody who wants that. So you're actually about 3 years ago. You probably don't remember that conversation. You turned me on to virtual assistants and creating SOPs. So
Oh
take what
yeah,
you
so you
taught
may
me
be
and
you may
everything
be
I've
better
learned.
than I am in this area there. So I love to see your insights and your do's and don'ts and things because you may have different practical experience. But the thing is, on businesses, we want to scale and we can't do everything. And I had a conversation with my assistant, and I said, you know what, I really have to lay some of these things off of you, and how can I do that to kind of cover some of these gaps because your assistant's not going to be as experienced as you are. They may be very intelligent, but they just don't have the years of experience. And certain things don't come natural to them. For example, I design well, but I came from a design school. So I create, UI, UX. I know how to congregate information in a certain way, which is easier for me than someone that hasn't done it for years. And so creating a statement of work is something that will reduce some of that pain there. And another thing too is I'll have a Q&A at the end. So we'll try to keep the session about 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I would like to see where everyone is at. I am located in Atlanta, Georgia for now. I will be near San Diego probably within 2 weeks. And in 2 months from that, I will be in Las Vegas. So that's going to be my trip. So I'm actually moving and just getting rid of all my stuff. So I'm not 100% today because I got all these things going on and stuff. So Jeremy, tell us a little bit about you and where you're from.
Yeah, I'm originally from Indiana, but I live in Richmond, Virginia now. Been here for about 4 years. I am not going to San Diego or Las Vegas, but we have spent some time back in South Bend, Indiana. I grew up this summer and actually spent a weekend at the beach last week down in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. But I live in Richmond, Virginia, about 2 blocks from the University of Richmond, if anybody's been here. So
Yeah, Richmond's a great place. I don't know much about Indiana, but I cut through there when I go to Chicago. So
that's
there's
that's that's
an
about as
area
good
to
as
cut right through, and it's like I don't know if it's a thin part of it or whatever, but you're in Indiana and then you're in Chicago, well in Illinois
yep.
right after that. So
That's the best part about Indiana is to get you to Chicago. When I
yeah.
met my wife, I told her there was we can live anywhere besides Indiana. So sorry for anybody listening on the call from Indiana. It's
Well,
just
what's wrong with Indiana? I don't know. What's
honestly, I could honestly live in Indianapolis if I had to, but I'm from small town Indiana. I honestly, I probably couldn't live in a small town
Oh, I
anywhere.
see what you're saying. It's very
Yeah.
desolate there, and the level of opportunity is probably not as great as it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of people here. So Lisa, you didn't tell us where you're at. She's my assistant, so you can go ahead and type in where you're at as well. But we have Adam Vine. He's from Los Angeles, California. Great place, bad traffic. Uh, we have Summer, San Diego. I will be there fairly soon. And we have Butch. I think it's Nicholson, and he's no, yeah, she is in Atlanta, and then Fayez. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. He's in Livermore, California. Lisa is in Kenya. Great country, Kenya. I want to visit there. And then we have let's see, Tangela, and she's in Alabama. And then we have Richard Manas, Toronto, and also terrible traffic. I don't know. People say Atlanta traffic is bad. I've been in LA. I think LA got Toronto beat. I'm not sure, but maybe I haven't been in Toronto, so I don't know.
All the places I've been, LA is the worst, and then Washington D.C. is the second. Whew,
Washington D.C. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Because in LA they have the quadrants and stuff. So usually you just do business in your quadrant because you don't want to go through. There's so much money flow in there. It's fantastic. But I think some remote work is probably well suited for LA when possible. But one thing I love about California in general is its sunlight. So you may say, oh, it has expensive rent and the rules are something that you're not, accustomed to. But I think there's something to be said with the gorgeous weather, for the most part. Well, we'll go ahead and continue. So thank you, everyone, for telling us where you're at. And our other sponsor is Ed Forteau. He may or may not jump on. I think he's double booked on it. He said he'll jump on in about 30 minutes if he can. But he's AKA Mr. Deliverability. And so he knows 152 unique ways to profit from any email list. So I've actually been working with him on my own email list and how to drive actual interest in some of those lists, because you don't get a lot of conversion, to be honest with you. If you really look at the numbers, whatever it is, whether it's email or your LinkedIn outreach or your post or any of those things, you don't get a lot of conversion. So you have to have that level of consistency to kind of talk to the right people at the right time. And we're doing a couple campaigns for that. So what I'm going to do is open up the post here. And Lisa, if you can, feel free to add the link to this post. We posted this today. We'll kind of use this as a general guide. There's just 6 simple slides, but the 2 main categories of conversations, well, there's 3. The third is the mastermind, but is how to create multiple market channels. We're going to talk about email, direct message. We're going to talk about direct mail. We're going to talk about how these things congregate together and they can have a longer life cycle, because a lot of times people purchase based on if they know, like, and trust you, but the actual purchase is timed out based on top of mind and need. And so we have to really, really think about that. How can you be top of mind for a longer period of time, right? Because not everyone is actually suited for what you're doing, for the moment. So one thing I put in here is understanding your strategy. It's really the strategy about how you're going to communicate and what value are you going to bring. Where does your audience frequent? So you don't really want to target media platforms where they're not at, or they're not a buying audience. That's why Instagram is much different than, say, LinkedIn. It's just sometimes it's a different type of audience that's suited for different kind of businesses. And then how many touches on which channel and over for what period of time. So when I say touches, I'm talking about it's an old sales techniques where you have X amount of touch points until you are more relevant to that particular audience. And Jeremy, how many touch points until you can book a vetted meeting? Do you know the math on it? It keeps on changing because I think humans now have a attention span of a goldfish.
Well, so there's two trains of saws. It says 8 touch points is kind of the old adage to get a meeting. But I base everything we do off called the law of 29. It takes people 29 times to understand who you are, what you do, and what you bring to the table, which is 3 times the old adage of what people talk about the book a meeting. But I think the 8 was way back in the day, was old school thinking, right? There was really only a phone call. Maybe you could swing by if you didn't have a meeting. But now there's so many different ways to communicate and why what you're talking about is so important, right? There's posting content, sending a LinkedIn message, an email, making a phone call, direct mail, sending a video message. There's so many more ways to communicate and brand yourself. I think that's why it's taking so many more extra steps.
So why 29 and not 28 or 30? That's what I want to know.
I don't have the answer to that.
Oh,
okay. That's not my study. It's could be 29.2 actually is the number. So
29.2 times.
Yeah. Not sure I touched on 1.2 times, but
okay. I always thought it was pretty close to that number, 25 or whatever. But it's also not. There's a difference between creating touch points of value and sending spam. Mm-hmm. And I believe most people, whether they know it or not, are accidental spammers. And even if you're providing value, they may think you're spamming. And so how you communicate is very important. And then not communicating on just one channel. Can you imagine getting 29 direct messages through email? Direct messages through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how annoying that would be? Because it's stacked up and everything. So that doesn't mean reach out on one channel 29 times.
Correct.
That means figure out where do they frequent? How can you have that first touch point? How can you move this off to another platform that may frequent? They may frequent more often. And through this set of slides, I do have a visual for that. And I'll turn it on real quick to kind of explain what I'm talking about. And another thing too is we want to talk about value when it comes up. I might skip around on this thing here. So I can't zoom up on this, but you can actually go to the link that Lisa Gray has put it up on there when you get a chance. Might want to right click on it instead of click on it because you'll leave the stream. But here you have 4 different items here. You have LinkedIn, social media, warm email, consulting, right? And consulting is personalization, networking, all the strategy, all the human things. LinkedIn and social media are just different platforms. You can have posts, videos, images. Some people use Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm dominantly LinkedIn person, and so when you create a piece of media, like a piece of content, like this piece right here, it's seen by so many people, and it can also be republished or reused, or a version of that can be reused on other platforms as well. And so I primarily use LinkedIn. And so I get so many views a week through that. So I get X amount of weeks through that. I get X amount of people searching for me to my profile. I have X amount of emails that go out from my email list. And then I have systems that tie into each other. And that's the real important thing. So we have systems where you want to be relevant for the first 5 weeks, and this is one example, Jeremy. 5 weeks, and after that, you want to have regular touches for quarterlies or emails every once in a while, and or through certain events and things like that. So here we have video, images, posts going on LinkedIn. We also have campaigns coming out for your newer relationships, existing network, and beyond your network. These are in mails and stuff. These are your LinkedIn DMs. And then you can have branch off to actual email. So you may have a quarterly message going out. You may have a continuation of the first message. But one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to create a path of just selling stuff. So one thing I would like to talk about is these systems are great. And Jeremy, if you want to talk about any other touch points on these systems, feel free, because I know that you do a lot of direct mail. And so I primarily have a LinkedIn newsletter. I have a growing email list, an actual email list. I have my campaigns that happen on my account, and I will have campaigns happening on my other parallel, not my parallel accounts, but my my salespeople's accounts and my other people that are on LinkedIn. They have their own channels. Then I can reach out to people when they connect. I send a nice welcome video to them, and I'll roll to email. So I try to keep relevant without selling anything for a period of time. And you are specializing in personalization. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I probably I do all that. To your point, we do a lot of direct mail. So whether it's first kind of communication, it goes well. I'm going to ask for your address. Like, I'm going to send you something so they get something in the mail from me. You sign up, you get a piece of direct mail. You reach a certain milestone, you get a piece of direct mail from us. You reach another certain amount, you get a milestone card and a gift. Also, too, I take a lot of people off my newsletter, and I actually do it through Substack now. I found that way is you're getting people, number one, off of LinkedIn and getting their email versus just people viewing it on LinkedIn, but also too, like, you're getting them off of another platform. So it's just a way for you to communicate, see your name in your inbox one more time from a different source.
And that's important. Yeah, let's pause right there and talk about that. You need to pull your data off of these platforms because you don't control the platform. I'll tell you this. I'm a LinkedIn expert, business expert around LinkedIn and other systems. However, my account was blocked. And it was because I was traveling.
Spamming people, weren't you?
No, it wasn't. When I first used LinkedIn, I did. And I was one of the people, I didn't understand how to date appropriately for businesses, right? Slow date. But all it was doing was traveling. And they said someone broke into your account, and they shut my account down for 4 days. So they have the ability to, like, really lock you down, regardless if you're doing something from nefarious or not. So you have to know these multiple channels and move them up. I've heard.
I got blocked 2 years ago because I used a few times to respond to people like, I can teach you how to send automated cards. And I think LinkedIn's is studying your inbox and saw the word automation and shut me down.
Oh, the word
automation, yeah. So a lot of people, when I teach people,
don't use the word automation because they monitor your messages.
And it was like, I'm not even talking about automating LinkedIn. I was talking about how do you actually automate sending a thank you card, or automate sending a thank you for your business, thank you for your time, happy birthday. Because there's tools now that you can automate all that stuff and still personalize it. And they didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
And I went back to LinkedIn and I was like, just look at my messages. I'm not talking about that. What are you talking about?
So they probably have a tool that just checks for words, and someone checks a box, and then you're in trouble and stuff like that. So I think everyone's got in trouble, maybe by accident or hopefully not on purpose. I've seen it where people were just responding too quickly, and this is before they made the changes where you would respond too quickly, like to a happy birthday message or whatever, right? And you're replying. And then all of a sudden they'll flag you as spam. Now what they do is they limit on what you can put out the volume wise, which is a little bit safer. So again, yeah, you definitely want to have multiple channels. Building a valid email list and maintaining that is probably one of the most important things. If you have an audience, having a LinkedIn newsletter, if you have a number of people you're already connected to, that's also a great way of putting content out. And every time you create a LinkedIn newsletter, it allows new connections and people to see that so they can subscribe to that. And it also creates a post, I have my regular daily post Monday to Friday that goes out. That's very helpful. Sometimes a little personal, like little personal items in there, but I always try to keep things light and helpful. And then you have your, direct outreach. So tell me about Substack. What does Substack do?
It's just a newsletter platform. I like it for two reasons. Number one, it's people actually opting in to actually get my newsletter versus actually just like randomly showing up in a post on LinkedIn. So it's the people who really want to learn about what I do. So very, very specific.
Mm-hmm. You're narrowing the focus down to people that are interested.
Yeah, very interested in what I have to do. Second is I just find you can have a lot more fun with it. What you can insert it tends to be a little bit easier and less wonky to work with. That's just more of a personal preference. Mm-hmm. And third, way I found it is actually people can donate towards you. If they like an article, they can donate you money. So just example, the last 2 weeks, I post every Wednesday. I probably made an extra $600, just people donating. Hey, we really like this article, found value in it. And they donate.
Is that an option you turn on and off, or is just something that's available there?
I honestly, I didn't even know it was an option until someone donated like $50. I was like, what? This is like 4 months ago when I started doing this. I'm like, heck yeah. And I'm like, I guess I'll keep that on. And
so you got $600 in a month?
Yeah.
You're a very good writer.
I mean, I think I'm better than average. I don't think I'm going to write a novel anytime soon, but I think it's more about providing value. And that's what I really like about my Substack user is close to 100 people now. But it's 100 people that really want to dive into what we do, who might not be able to afford my services yet, or for some reason they can't use my services because of compliance reasons or their company doesn't allow it.
There are some compliance, especially if they're dealing with any kind of funding source or they deal with investment and things like that. They have a very tight
exactly
tight
so
leash.
And we're just always, every newsletter is packed with value about how to do personalization, whether it's through email, mail, video, whatever it is. Like this past week we talked about the 7 steps to create a great personalized direct mailer campaign. Mm-hmm. What do you need to be thinking about if you're going to send direct mail to your clients or prospects?
So let's talk about that quickly, because one of your conversion rate on or some of the specialized pieces are pretty high, right? Of course, they cost a lot more, but you're micro targeting individuals, and you get up to like a 50% conversion rate. But you're paying for it, of course. And so, how do you determine on your list who gets a mailer, who gets a specialized piece? I mean, how do they make a tier? Do you have a CRM to set up, and identifies who's the most important people you want to send stuff out to, or how does that work?
Yeah, so like I said, it's more based off of where they're at in the process with me. And then if they're going to get a specialized gift from me, if I'm talking about my current client base, once they reach certain revenues, that's when we'll send a gift, say thank you. Anytime someone sends me a referral.
Do you tie that to a CRM, or how do you track that?
Yeah, I track it through Keep. And once a month, we're just tracking our, revenue bases in QuickBooks. And then
so it's an indicator of like, who do I want to send a nicety to? I call it a nicety, And Elisa commented, and then so did Lisa. She says, crazy we can use the word automation and LinkedIn will get peeved. They'll get peeved off a lot of ways. I mean, that's not the only way. You can also make users pay for subscription to your Substack. Mm-hmm. Do you have any experience with that?
No, I haven't used that. It's more of a pay if you want to read it, or if you want to. It's more like a charity type.
So is it a button you turn on?
Yeah, a button you turn on. Yep.
I think that thing should be on all the time then.
Yeah. Like I said, I learned by accident when someone donated $50 the first time. I was like, heck yeah, that's right.
And it's so much better to add value to a very Substack of people. When we're doing email list, how we do that is we have a method called the needle in the haystack method. So I'm increasing my email list. I only have a couple thousand on the email list. So we're trying to increase it, but we kind of double opted in. So we only increase, maybe, I don't know, 100 or 500 a month, not too much. Right. But the needle in the haystack will send several messages, and you'll figure out who's really interested. And by the time you get through the third email, you have your buyers. And so that's one way of reducing the list down to something that's very, very usable. So let's jump back on the let's see. We talked about your flow and your channels. Hey Jeremy, what do you think value is when you're developing your content and you're sending, maybe you're engaging someone's post, and then you send them a connection message a week later, and then you send your first message. I mean, and then that rolls off to your other systems and things like that. How do you present value?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm always asking the question, like, especially if I'm reaching out, or it doesn't matter if they're reaching out or someone's reaching out to me. It's simply asking me, like, what would be the benefit of talking to you, or me talking to you, or you talking to me, and ask them, like, what are you trying to accomplish? Now, the majority of the time I'm posting, I'm focused on sales reps or business owners, and I know their pain point is locking down meetings with high value prospects. So everything I post is typically around locking down meetings with high value prospects. But we always assume, and how you do this, that's why they're reaching out to you. And that might not be the case. They might be like, hey, I'm having really trouble following up in the follow-up process. Like, I'm getting meetings, but I'm not following up correctly. Or is there a better way? Or I'm not closing deals as much as possible. Is there a way to implement personalization? So it's simply asking the question, and then, hey, do you mind if I, send some stuff to you, or add you out to my newsletter, or I'll follow back up with you?
So you're talking about a very low, low call to action that's easy to convert, because
but
if you ask them to do too much, it's very difficult to build that relationship. It's like marriage before a coffee date.
But it's more me asking them what's valuable to them, because I think I might know it's valuable to Troy, but I might be way off basis.
Yeah.
And let me give you an example. This guy reached out to me last week or 2 weeks ago based off a post. His message was, I want to talk to you about setting up my first direct campaign. Obviously he didn't read my post, because my post is all about setting up direct mail campaigns. Did the first 10-minute call. I got into it, and I asked him, like, hey, have you ever done a direct mail campaign before? And he's like, no, and I never would. And I was kind of like, why are we talking? Because that's what we do. And it was 10 minutes. And I gave the most valuable in the world, Troy, and I could get the most value moving forward. But
you can lead a horse to water, and you can't make him drink.
So my point is, I had to ask him, and I could drip on him about direct mail campaigns the rest of my life. I'm not getting him as a client. He won't be a client, a partner, or a helpful person. No.
Yeah. Well, I think what I had on the last show, we talked about tire kickers, and one thing, if they don't see your content and they want to set up a meeting, on my link, they have to answer certain questions.
Oh yeah.
And if they don't answer, and they'll get like, oh, this guy's asking me questions about stuff. Do I want to fill it out? Because if they don't want to fill it out, they just don't want to have a meeting with me,
Yeah.
And so you do have to figure out ways to figure out who's your ideal people. When I say people, I'm not necessarily talking about clients. It could be an audience. It could be people that you're going to nurture or help them become more educated in the area and solve or reduce their pain. And then when they're ready, they will end up being a customer. So not everyone is a customer right away. They just may not be at a place where they can understand how to do these things or implement, or have someone else implement. But once they get used to the idea, they say, oh, okay, I did some of this work. I kind of know how it works. I'm going to go get Troy, or I'll go ahead and get Jeremy to go ahead and take over these campaigns, because they're the experts in it, and I just don't want to implement that, and they'll help me with the strategy as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm trying to flip through this right here. And another thing is talking about SOPs, which is one of the main things that we want to do to train VAs or anyone that you're working with. So SOPs could be for your VA, SOP could be for your developers or your partners or whoever's implementing certain functionality. So again, like we mentioned before, you as the business owner may be an expert in certain areas, but no one's going to have that built-in knowledge. So a lot of times what is common sense to you is very foreign to other people. And so the knowledge in your mind has to be taken out. And SOPs are one way to do that. So you got to think, oh, I've been doing something for 20 years and I get a VA and they're not even at the same age as you are. So you have a different life experience as well as experience in that, whatever that particular industry is. How do I transfer my knowledge to that person? Especially, it's really good for tasks that are repeatable. So you can fumble your way to do an email campaign, but if you had the steps, you could pretty much do it right the first time. Because there's a lot of like email campaigns is an easy thing to talk about because there's so many pitfalls, right? Your domain has to be refreshed once in a while. You have issues with the wording of the email. You have an issue with the actual list. Some of the emails are no good anymore. They're not valid. You have an issue maybe with your targeting. Maybe those people aren't the right people to send an email to because they will unsubscribe or report you as spam, where you're thinking you're providing value. You're just irritating that person. And so you mentioned you and I talked about SOPs, right? When we first met. Yeah. I think I charged you for that, right? I don't remember.
You should have if you didn't.
I should have. I don't remember. So there's an example. If you want a copy of this for formatting, feel free in the chat, send me a copy, and Lisa or I will send you a link to this document. And this is one of the things that we'll just give away. But this is an actual SOP, and it's for streaming events management, right? It's very specific. I don't know if we're doing a streaming show right now, but you see it's nicely organized, has a nice table of contents, and it goes through every step. So I'll talk about what it is. It has an overview, and it has a video about what the subject matter is so they get an idea. So there's a written content, and then there's a video on it. So you're covering both bases, and so you keep the steps really, really, really simple. And we talk. This is the highlights of this. Sure, Alicia. Alicia, I will send you a copy. We talk about the major sections of what you're getting into. It's more like almost like a mini table of contents in there. Then we talk about using Restream, which is we're using right now for here. There's different softwares that are really good as well. I'm checking out this other software and going through the ringer, going through the ropes with that. And so each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. And again, a lot of these will have step-by-step instructions, links, videos, and that sort of thing. And so I'm open to send this document out. I think a client actually paid me to do something very similar. So often you'll get requested for consultation. And I had one client say, you know what, Troy, we don't want any kind of like automation or program systems, right? Let's just not use that word. Let's just say program systems, right? Where you're moving from one thing to another. Because even a CRM has a bit of automation in it. And so we want to figure out how to do this manually. And she said, we have a list of 500 premium people we want to reach out to and talk to them and convert some of a small percentage of those into actual paying clients, because these are big, valuable people that deal with whatever she deals with, right? And so I created a service operating procedure very specific to that audience. So it started from LinkedIn, and it started from engaging with her posts. It started, and then it moved on to a very specific, connection message. Then it moved on to a one follow-up. So it was a sequence of events from different type of platforms, but it was done in a manner. And I even created a spreadsheet, how to track all that stuff, right? And at the end of it, it ended up being a phone call because it's very human. So they went from online platforms to reaching out, figuring out who is this type of person, if they're active, if they're not, and do a kind of A/B, not an A/B test, but it did a split depending on decision tree, depending on what would happen. And they were able to convert a percentage of those to high paying clients. but it was a lot of human manual work, and I know that you've created some SOPs for your employees or contractors or maybe virtual assistants. How did that go?
Yeah, so three things I would say about SOPs is number one, they're a must if you want to scale your business and free up time so you can do the things in your business that you like. Like, I didn't start a business to send invoices, to do admin work. Like, I started a business because I love the thrill of helping my clients get meetings with their clients or prospects. That's all I really started a business. I love that. But I didn't
Yeah.
realize when I started my business all the, pardon my French, crap that goes with it. Uh,
Yeah, all the
um,
functional step by step
yeah.
and
What?
tedious
So
tedious
that
things that your time is not best, you as the
exactly.
owner, time is not best suited.
So the first step in the process is, if you're a business owner, the one thing you need to read is go get the book E-Myth. If you're saying, Jeremy Troy, you're full of crap, I don't know what you're talking about, go read the book E-Myth. Michael Gerber has been studying businesses and how to systematize businesses for 40 plus years. The
Hmm.
book's got some phenomenal value in it. I run my business based off of that book. It's all about systems. He talks about McDonald's in that book. Any McDonald's in the world, you go in from the minute they turn the lights on to the minute they turn the lights off. It's pretty much the same manual. They have a system for every little thing in the business.
Yeah, and they
Um,
said that McDonald's was not even a hamburger business. It was a
it's a real estate company.
it's a what?
It's a real estate company.
Real estate. Yes, I would say land. I guess, yeah, real estate's the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
But
real estate. Well, we don't want to get into that, but
yeah.
it's amazing how people think about that, and they have the procedures where you can come in knowing nothing, and then you can move on from fries to hamburgers to manager. They have a whole procedure moving from one another,
Exactly.
and in a single day, someone could be trained on being functional in
Yeah.
one day. And if you can build that and reduce some of your load, your workload, you are in a better shape because it
Yep.
takes a lot of time. Like content. Clients pay us to do their content, and it's thousands of dollars. It's time. So it's great to have a Gary V model where you have a lot of content cut up into a lot of pieces. But even when you have that, someone has to write that, someone has to position that based on what you're trying to do and your goals for the business. You can't just be putting stuff out there. So how long does it take to create content, or even the slides that we put here? We have tools like Canva that I used it, and I used a template for this. It's a handsome little 5-slide thing, but even with Canva's template, it took me an hour to write this, and that's pretty quick actually. But how long would it take an assistant? Probably 2 or 3 times as much as it would me, because I'm in it. I'm the owner. I know this stuff in and out, versus anyone else is not coming from inside, they come from outside in. And so these things take some time, when doing that. So here we talk about when training your VA, show them the guide first. That's just what I think. I don't know if you agree or disagree, Jeremy, on that.
Yes. I mean, with SOPs, the other two things I was going to say is, like, the thing that you need to do is as you're kind of a one man shop or a one lady shop, or just you have a few people, like, you need to go through your business and think about all the little things that, number one, can be systematized and be outsourced, and then take some time off, take 2 or 3 weeks off, obviously, or work a little bit longer to kind of put the step by step, like the book that you just did with your for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And create it all. And what's great about it, I saw you had a video in there, like, you can write it out, but also too have a video, and you go step by step. Like, here's how you log into Canva. Here's how you pick a template. Here's how you change a template. Here's how you download the template. Like, little every single thing that you do, you have to document it and put it in
Yeah.
a procedure, and then have a place that they can always go back to get it. So have like a mainframe. I use a company called Sweet Process. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No,
It's
I
a place
haven't
to
heard.
it's a place to document all your SOPs.
Okay.
So if I bring in Troy
I just
tomorrow,
use
then
Google Documents for mine, and
yeah,
I put it in a folder called SOPs.
yeah.
But
I have it just different because they have a little better firewalls and all that type of stuff. They can't get into it.
okay, all right.
But that, you can do it anywhere. But
Yeah. So the keys for the SOPs a lot of times is not going to be perfect, but you got to think outside of, like, how do I do these steps? And once your VA goes through it, you walk them through it, you know, you don't want to look over their shoulder all the time, but you want to walk them through it the first time and allow them to fill in the holes, because some things are going to be common sense to you, but they're going to be almost like an epiphany to them. So just because you think everyone knows something, they may not know it. And then you also want to simplify that document. You want step 1, step 2, step 3, and then in the video, you want to walk them through it. So you're covering both the visual and the reading portion. So some people read more and some people watch video more. But I think the combination of those is very, very helpful for them to get it. And the first time they go through it, it will be a little tedious, a little longer. But when they go through it again, it'll be faster and faster, you know. And the last post, last link to the post.
Well, let me add something to that too. I think
Sure.
is when people create SOPs and hire someone, and no one really talks about this, is the next few weeks as you get those people up and running, it sucks. And you feel like you made the wrong decision, right? Because it's like, I'm getting all these questions. Troy won't leave me alone. Why is he asking me that? It's an SOP. But there comes a time and point where, like, if I were to hire Troy, like 3-4 weeks later, like Troy stops asking me questions and it just starts to get done.
Yeah.
And that part of it goes away. And I don't think people talk about that. Like, you are going to have to ask questions or answer questions from the individual because they're going to have questions.
Yeah, it is dangerous when they never ask questions.
Yes.
It's so disconcerting. It's just like, wouldn't you ask me? You know, you could almost like leave a step out, and then if you don't ask a question, everything falls apart, and you don't find anything out. You know, you don't want to sabotage it. I wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that we talk about what is a good VA. So there are good services as well as people that aren't as good, you know, to work with, right? Well, VAs are not any different. They're human like anyone else. So you got some VAs that are sharp, and then you got some people that are even higher. They're more like executive assistants, you know? And so it really, and they get paid quite a bit. So it really depends on, is this person qualified or good enough to complete these tasks at a certain level of efficiencies? That's really, and I say, for me, I say if they are 50% as good as I am, they're a keeper. And because I think I'm pretty good in a certain areas, and I don't expect to someone, if you expect to someone to be as good as you, is even with documents, is irrelevant, because a lot of people they can't think the way you do, because you may be able to connect the dots within your area of expertise much quicker than anyone else. And so some of those things have to be spelled out, you know.
Well, to it, and it's to your point, is they're not going to, I mean, 50% is great. But as they go through these and do stuff for you, you find out what their strengths are. You're like, oh, wow, I could be leveraging Troy for this, which I wasn't thinking about. But also, too, I think I'm a big
you create opportunities that way.
Yeah, I'm a big believer giving them all autonomy. Like, if you figure out a better way to do this and it's easier for you, create it. Like, I'm giving you the task. I'm giving it to you to own. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So I think this right here, we'll keep this open for Q&A. I don't have much more to talk about other than the lessons, and this set of slides really came from, I think it was lesson 17. So we have a mastermind called the Client Acquisition Mastermind. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It has 24 initial lessons. So we have a lesson there every week, and it's recorded as well. And we also have an open session, which is just consultation. So I don't know how much an hour you charge. I charge about $297 an hour for consultation. We have a deal right now for the first year. It's $147 for the whole year, whole sessions, live sessions, and everything. They go through 24 sessions, how to build a system, how to create strategy, how to create an SOP, how to train your VA, how to write your campaigns, you know, how to present value. And so if you're interested in the chat, feel free to state that I'm interested in the mastermind, or just type in mastermind and we'll reach back out to you. And then right now, Lisa, what you can do is you can go ahead and provide that link there in the chat to join the Now Society Mastermind. So what we're doing, we're filling in slots right now. And as soon as I get to California, we're starting the first session. And we're going to talk about your profile, how to create it SEO optimized, how to write your profile in a way where when people go to it, they know exactly what you're doing and they understand who you are. That's a big thing. A lot of people's profiles are not clear and they don't present any type of value. So usually that's one of the first dominoes that you want to, that you want to target. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and provide that link over there. And also, if anyone has any questions on what we talked about today, I know I try to keep it a little shorter because I talk a lot, but I think that we covered quite a few things, and I wanted to keep it open if anyone had any questions on systems and things like that. I do have a question for you, Jeremy. When you send out a customized um, gift to either obtain a new client or to retain a client, because they're making X amount of dollars, you're producing X amount of dollars with them, and you want to know that you're thinking of them to keep them happy. What kind of money is involved? So if someone, like for example, if someone's involved with me and they say, well, I need a direct outreach campaign. It's X amount of dollars, right, per month. Oh, I need content produced every week. It's X amount of dollars here. I need someone to get bookings for me. It's X amount of dollars. So you have a plan that sends out these very, very specialized gifts. And I think a lot of the money goes into the research, right? So you have to research these individuals. So what does that typically cost? Or is every plan totally different?
Yeah. So first, I start off with not every prospect's equal. And so when you look at my business, like if someone comes to me with a list of 10,000 people, like I tell them that's not what we do. What we typically do is take the 50 within those 10,000 that if they were to say yes, the trajectory of your business.
Oh, you said that's too big.
Too big, yeah. So we're very niche, very
too shotgun approach. It's too
exactly. So
all right.
We'll spend some time with your phone, figure out what those 50 are if you don't know. But most people know who their whales are, and then if I get Troy to sign up, my business is going to take off. And then exactly what they do is they usually we hire us to put us together a campaign to get a meeting with Troy, and a lot of the effort and time goes into research, finding the specific gift that would relate to Troy, creating a personalized card that goes with Troy. And it typically all-in cost is usually about $175 per prospect. But you got to think about it. Like people hear that number and say, wow, that's a lot of money. But you got to remember, this is for high ticket items. So usually the people we work with have, long-term value clients, at least 10 grand or minimum.
Yes.
So you're not going to spend $175 on a prospect if you're selling $9.99 a month.
Yeah, maybe a different audience then. Yeah, it may not be suited for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a very specific niche in who we work with, but we do. If you are interested in that stuff, we have a course that we can direct you. We do consulting work because you might say, you know what, like that's too expensive for us. We want to do that. We'd probably do it ourselves. Like I actually have consulted sales teams before to do this. I've consulted financial advisors how to do all this stuff. So we do it all.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is really good at these high value offers, high-end coaches, IT companies, fractional C-level individuals, sales, marketing. So I consider high value. Mine's a little lower. That if you have an offer that's at least $1,000 a month, and IT companies can be like $1 million for a project, but you get an idea. If you want to start in the game of LinkedIn marketing and converting. I would, you have to have a product that's going to produce money for you because it's a lot of work onboarding clients and getting them moving and getting them profitable and booking their, getting their meetings booked and having that, having them actually fill your calendar out with vetted meetings. So I think anyone can get their calendar filled, but it could be a bunch of noise, and you have to be very conscious and specific on how am I providing value to this person? Because if everyone's trying to sell each other, it doesn't make sense. So usually when I have a meeting, my thing is just to kind of solve their immediate pain or lessen their pain. And that's it. I don't really have an agenda to sell them anything because maybe what I have to sell is not appropriate. But what you mentioned before is very key. They may not be financially ready or mentally ready or knowledgeably ready for what your service is. And so I split my services in two. One is that mastermind that we just talked about, and the importance of that. It's almost if you can't afford $147 one time and get consulting and fix your problem, then you're probably in the wrong business, right? But the higher end service may not be a good fit. So if they're paying $2,000 a month or whatever it is, depending on their stack, they just may not understand the mechanics well enough to feel comfortable, and they may not be set up properly. So my lower end mastermind is a way to educate them and get to know them more on a personal level, and then allow them to either build their own team or eventually hire us or you or someone that's whoever is appropriate for whatever their mechanism is. So I think that it is good to have a low sell and a high sell. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I have different channels for people, the way they want to engage with me. And
Mhm.
even though like my service, you could pay for my service, you might say, you know what, Jeremy, I still want to do it myself because I'm only going to do 2 of them a month. It's pointless to
makes
get you
sense. Yeah.
involved. I mean, okay, well, watch my course. I can come in for $500 for a few hours, consult you on it. Like, what we can work with you in any different capacity. So,
Yeah, it's good to be flexible, but on the opposite side of that coin, what I suggest is people not to be a flea market. So understand who your audience is. If there's a high sell and a low sell, there are variations within those sales, though. So in my high sell, I just say it's this link to sell accelerator system, right? And it includes consultation, systems, setup, writing, you name it, even bookings if you need it. But they're not all the same. They're different stacks depending on what they really need, And sometimes I'll slow a client down. They say, "Oh, I need this, this, and this." I said, "Let's try this first," because the worst thing you want to do is have a nightmare client that doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Even they got through all the vetting and all that. You just want to start them off and see if they show up on the meetings and they're implementing and if they feel good about it, and then you want to add stuff to it. So never be too hungry for the dollars, because if you go too quickly, too fast, you could end up getting some financial pushback that you want to avoid, and a little heartbreaking too. So. Yeah. So we're definitely open for any questions if anyone has any. I know a couple people have asked about the mastermind and the copy. Oh, one other thing too is we have a daily process. So we have a LinkedIn business daily process that's pretty interesting. If you want a copy of that, just say daily process, and I'll go ahead and reach out to you and send that to you. But one thing that helps a lot of people is figuring out, what am I doing in this short amount of time that I have to do it? Because the rest of your time, you have to run a business. So you don't have time to dilly-dallying on email and LinkedIn and all this other. But so you need to congregate those most important tasks and the ones that actually get the most impact. So I have a daily process Monday to Friday, and you're able to pick what's important. And my daily process even has videos on how to do stuff. So if anyone wants that, feel free on the chat to write down daily process, and I'll send that to you. And for the replay, the same thing stands for that as well. Well, Jeremy, that's all I have. I don't know if you want to add anything. I don't see anyone asking any additional questions. Well, I thank you for jumping on today.
Yeah. Good luck with your moves. So.
Oh my gosh, I'm not feeling it at all. Yeah, I decided to liquidate everything, like the clothes, everything. Whatever luggage I can put on it, and then I'll mail some stuff to California, and I'll ship my car over there, and then be done with it, Oh, Alicia, you like the daily process? Sure, we'll send that to you. Thank you. Yeah, not feeling the move. it's a little, but it's a good thing, So
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. So if you want to stay on, Jeremy, for a little bit after I jump off for the live stream, that'll be awesome. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you, Alicia, for the comment. I appreciate it. And she says, thanks to you both. You're awesome, Alicia. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope we have provided some information and value to you. And if you like, feel free to reach out to Jeremy or myself. And Lisa, if you can, go ahead and put our LinkedIn links on there for our profile, and you can connect with us. when you connect with us, just say, I saw you on the Troy show, because we don't accept all the connections because we're a bit leery sometimes when we get a big mass of people. Yeah. Oh, no problem. You jumped on late. Yeah. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, everyone have a great day and a great rest of the week.